Hi, welcome to Off Script. I'm Zach Lewis.
And I'm Dr. Draper.
Today on the show, we're taking a look at From the World of John Wick, Ballerina, or just Ballerina, as we would normally call it. We got to talk about the title, dude. It's like a whole thing. But more importantly, we're going to talk about the movie, Ana de Armas. You got Keanu Reeves showing up, and whether or not it's worth your time. We're also going to take a look at the Phoenician Scheme. Phoenician Scheme? The new Wes Anderson feature is out. I am a bit of an Anderson fan. Andy normally isn't, but believe it or not, he might have changed his tune on this one. There's something special happening, so stick around for the review. We're going to take a look at some upcoming trailers, namely that new Eddington trailer from Ari Aster dropped today, and then a couple other exciting ones. We're going to talk about the news before we get to all of it. The pre-show. Andy, what'd you watch this week? What's been on your watch list? Personal, at home, what are you watching?
So I meant to finish the Three Colors trilogy, and I got like 20 minutes into Three Colors Red, which is the third film, and I kept getting distracted. People were texting me. I couldn't focus on it. So I'm going to have to give that another go from the beginning. But I did watch 2007's King of California, which is a father-daughter kind of bonding film starring Evan Rachel Wood and Michael Douglas. She stars as this young daughter who's working at McDonald's to pay the mortgage, and he's recently come out of a mental institution, behavioral health, and he's convinced that there's Spanish gold buried under this Costco. And at first she's like, no, Dad, you're crazy, like there's nothing there. But then she kind of just goes along with it, just so like it's so she can like spend time with him. And it's really sweet, it's really charming. She's very good in that. I think she was like 19, so like a very, very early role. I feel like that kind of movie would be handled very differently, like it's a bit of a time capsule thing. The mental health aspect of it would be taken kind of a little bit more seriously and a little bit more grounded than it is in the movie. But it's cute and it's a fun time, and it was only 100 minutes.
Yeah, it looks like it was made in 2007, which is funny. That's also the year Evan Rachel Wood did Across the Universe, right? That Beatles movie,
Right, the
which
breakout.
I remember having the DVD of that and watching it a few times. All right, but I don't know anything about King of California. Would recommend? Wouldn't recommend? Would rent from a Redbox if Redbox was still around?
Wood rent from a red box. Yeah.
Yeah, that looks solid. That looks like a solid plane movie from a few years ago. King of California. I like Michael Douglas. I have watched much more exciting features, although I have had trouble staying awake from them. These are late night watches. I burned through Mission Impossible again from '96, the first one. Last week on the show, you had mentioned, I think maybe we were talking offline, you had said, what's a good Mission Impossible movie to introduce people to? And I was like, well, the first one, of course. Like, what are you crazy? The first one still holds up. And you were like, it's pretty dated. I was like, nah, some of it's dated, but it's all right. No, dog. The first one's from '96. It's very dated. Like,
The tech is so dated.
Good Lord.
Like,
yes, it is. It is rough. Like, even in the opening numbers, you're like, oh boy. But I like Ethan Hunt as just like kind of the maverick new kid who's like done some stuff but hasn't done too much, and then everything falls apart in that opening act, and suddenly he's on his own and can't trust anyone. Like, it is really good stuff. Like, it's whatever, the face launched 1,000 ships, right? When was the last time you watched it?
I believe I watched it on a plane. I remember, I think it was last summer, where I was doing a lot of plane rides, and I ended up watching the entire Mission Impossible series on planes. That first one, it still holds up as an espionage thriller, because you have competing parties all trying to get this very sensitive, what they call the knock list. It's a list of spies within the organization, the very clandestine information, and there's a lot of double crossing. You don't know who you can trust. There's a lot of sauce in that movie, and it's also only 100 minutes long, so it's nice and quick. I remember they simplified the second movie because audiences were like confused through most of it, but a lot of the action sequences work really well. The big the him suspended in the room almost hitting the floor, that's kind of now an iconic scene. The big train chase in the end, like, it's just but it's very different, and those first three films are kind of a chunk of filmmaking.
Yeah, they're a really good time. I'll burn through the next two real fast. I watched Big Lebowski from 1998. Dude, it might be the best movie ever made. Like, it's certainly feels like a top tenner. It nails this sort of tone and subtle comedy that just wasn't really around then. Coen brothers are firing on all cylinders. Still hits great. Like, there's just so many subtle bits that like I still end up laughing at, or will catch me in a different way that I hadn't seen before. And that's what some of the best art is, right? Like, stuff that gives you a different feeling when you come back years later and like you still get something new and fresh out of it. Lastly, I watched Spaceballs from 1987. I liked Spaceballs a lot when I was a kid. Mel Brooks comedy spoofing Star Wars. What I didn't know is Spaceballs was Bill Pullman's breakout performance because he's like fine in it, but I didn't know he had basically landed that role and Mel Brooks wanted somebody else for it. And it turned out it worked out and he ended up booking more stuff and then got Independence Day and whatnot. And then also, I didn't know George Lucas was tied up in making Spaceballs. He apparently liked the script from Mel Brooks so much, he had ILM do some of the effects, which is part of the reason some of those like miniature spaceship models look so good in Spaceballs. Like, because it genuinely has a little bit of Star Wars DNA strung through the middle of it. Like, kind of cool. I don't know, a little bit of movie making stuff that they don't really do nowadays, right? Like, I can't imagine Disney helping DreamWorks out with anything, but here we are. Anyway, any thoughts on Lebowski and Spaceballs? We're jumping to news.
I haven't seen either in quite some time, Spaceballs especially, but it also has like some classic jokes, like literally combing the desert and Pizza the Hut, the Schwartz, like it's so
Dude,
dumb that it's funny.
The combing the desert scene where it's like panning across the different like soldiers, they're like dragging these big hairbrush combs across the desert only to land on like two dudes with like the smallest afro pick in the galaxy is the funniest. Like, oh my god, when I was a kid I died. Anyway, we got to get to the news. Speaking of Star Wars, what a transition. Mia Goth is going to be in the new Star Wars movie. No. Boo! I know. Yeah, Mia Goth is going to play.
Washed.
Yes, Mia Goth is going to play, according to Hollywood Reporter, the villain opposite Ryan Gosling in Starfighter, Shawn Levy's new Star Wars feature. Listen, we don't know for sure this is happening. The number of Star Wars projects we've announced here on Off Script that have fallen through are numerous. There's more of these than you can count on two hands. I know it. So this seems like it might hold water, though. What do you know about this, Andy?
Star Wars seemed to be where careers go to die. Like, I'm sure it's a sweet payday, but man, it doesn't really do much for your career. It helps if you're already an established person. Like poor Daisy Ridley is like fine, but you would have thought she would have become a star from being in The Force Awakens, those first three films. We don't really know much about the plot other than it takes place after the rise of Skywalker, about 5 years or so. Mia Goth is the villain. She's chasing Ryan Gosling's character across the universe. That's all we know. We really don't know anything else outside of the plot or who else is in it. I'm sure it's going to be a sweet payday.
Yeah. No confidence in how this thing's going to perform. Star Wars' last few standalone features didn't do all that good, right? Like, they made Rogue One, had a spin-off of Andor, but ultimately they made Solo in the hopes that would kind of do better and like pick up more gas, and then they ended up doing no more of these things. Like their Star Wars story movies they did a couple of didn't really take off. Even still, yeah, this being by itself, having different talent, having a fresh look, and being the first Star Wars movie in a minute, could bolster the franchise a little bit, right? Could get people out, or they run the risk of feeling like it's a homework movie, which is the problem Marvel's got, right? Have you watched the last 4 Disney Plus Star Wars shows? You're not caught up on the lore? Well, you're going to have no idea what's going on in Star Wars Starfighter. I don't know what's going to happen. I do know that I unsubbed from Disney Plus a while ago, and Mia Goth jumping into Star Wars feels like a bit of an L. But maybe not. I'm sure, surely not for her. Surely not for her paycheck, right? Her bank account. I'm sure this is great, but I don't know. Mikey Madison passed on this thing over a pay dispute. Mia Goth is, great, but we'll see. I don't know. What do you think?
I think that's really the kind of glaring issue is a lot of people have passed on these roles. Like they've gone to a lot of up and coming talent or A-listers to be there. Do you want to be in the new Star Wars? And lots of people are passing. Mikey Madison, the most famous one, most recently, hot off her Oscar win, and she's chosen to do another kind of weird indie movie, which actually sounds really exciting. And the fact that she passed on it, it's like, oh man, it must not be something that's going to help your career.
Yeah, well, if Goth's playing the villain, it's worth mentioning it's likely some villain of the week junk, right? Like I know no one's ever really gone in Star Wars, but like Gosling might have a multi-picture deal. Mia Goth could totally be a oneer. Like just come in for a few days, hang out on green screen set B, read your lines, we'll feed them to you through an earpiece, get your money. Who knows? But Shawn Levy's Starfighter, keep an eye out for it. It's scheduled to open May 28th, 2027, so ways away. Warner Brothers Discovery is splitting up. Good God. What a mess. What a mess. You want to tell people why this is a mess, Andy, in case they don't know?
So way back when, I think it was AT&T sold off Time Warner, and it merged with Discovery. And at that point, David Zaslav was the president of Discovery, which I think had done very well. They merged the two. It's done, I guess, okay. Of course, it's gone from HBO Go to HBO Max to Max, and now they're going to go back to HBO Max, and they're going to split up again, mostly to make deals. And the two companies will basically be the Warner Brothers stuff, which is the cool stuff, movies, streaming, DC, maybe some of the sports stuff, and then the linear TV business is going to be the more traditional stuff is the other company, and that's things like CNN, TNT, some other sports thing, and more importantly, that company is getting all the debt as well. So now Warner Brothers HBO is going to be debt free in this split. And David Zaslav will be the president of that. So he's gone from being the president of Discovery to now basically the president of Warner Brothers and HBO, and which is, I mean, somehow this man keeps winning despite nothing but losses.
So stupid, so profoundly stupid. Think of every bad manager you've ever had, right? Every person above you, supervisor, manager, what have you, who you knew like is so inept and is so not capable of doing what they're expected to do here, but manage to yes men their way through it, right? And just go along with it and come in and collect their paycheck and end up being in a place where they have a little bit of clout. Welcome to Warner Brothers Discovery, headed up by David Zaslav. I can't believe this man's still got a job. I can't believe half these people are still working there. It's so bonkers, dude. Like, they make an announcement. It's terrible. Everybody dunks on them. People put out memes about how bad it is. They go a couple years limping along with the Max brand because they didn't want to really leave it HBO, but had to go back. And now here we are. We're rolling back the clock, baby. Like, no. That was a silly thing. This is going to be better for branding or what have you. Like, it's so dumb. It's so dumb. It reeks of awful middle management garbage decision making from a company that like so desperately needs eyes on it. Like, I don't know. I think it's terrible. Obviously, I feel very strongly about it. having no dog in this fight, but I don't know. Meanwhile, Hulu and Disney, right? They got their own thing going on, right?
Yeah, so there's been this long gestating deal with Disney and Hulu where Disney has been trying to buy back their stake from Comcast. A third, Comcast owns about a third of Hulu, and Disney's been trying to buy it out. But they've been waiting for this deal to get through regulations. The funny part is Disney originally agreed to pay $8 billion, a floor of $8 billion. They ended up selling it for under half a billion, 440 million. So like now they're paying Comcast a fraction of what they had originally agreed because they've gone and reassessed and reappraised the properties, and it's worth like a fraction of what it was. So that gets Comcast out of Hulu, and now Disney will just own more and have, I guess, a little bit more say. It seems like they already had a controlling stake, so I'm not sure what that means content-wise. Our boy Bob Iger seems to think that it's going to position Disney to be a little bit more powerful and competitive than HBO, but we'll see.
Yeah, the whole Disney Hulu relationship has been odd. I knew they had a controlling stake, but as far as I understand it, like if you fly overseas and like whip open a Roku in London or India, like Hulu and Disney Plus play completely differently. Some of them don't even have Disney Plus. It's just all Hulu. Like totally different libraries. Like I don't know the global movements of how they're moving content around on these, but hey man, if Bob Iger says 430 million is a cheap pickup for the rest of Hulu, then I guess that means something that I don't understand. Any thoughts on Warner Bros. Discovery of this before we jump into Incredibles news?
Allegedly, this is to position them to have better deal making, since you're not going to have streaming and TV in the same. Basically, each company won't have the baggage of the other, and they can each individually make better deals for TV and streaming. We'll see. I mean, I think that it is good for HBO and Warner Brothers and all that. They can kind of, because the focus is to be a little bit more on the creative stuff. So we'll see, but we don't know what this means for the apps. I don't think it's going to split the app. We're still going to have HBO Max, and it's going to still have Discovery stuff on it as well. So a lot of it, like people may not even notice a lot of it.
Two more stories this week and more good news at Disney's. Incredibles 3 has a director. Very exciting. Yeah, they're making another one of those Incredibles movies, right? The sequel train keeps on rolling. Who's helming the Brad Bird written feature? who's it going to be, Andy?
Stepping into the director's chair is Peter Sohn, who did Elemental, which started slow but actually turned out to be a big hit a couple of summers ago. He's kind of a protege of writer-director Brad Bird, who wrote and directed the first two Incredibles films. They worked together a lot. He's been working with Brad Bird on Brad Bird's latest thing that the reason he can't direct now, I can't remember what it is, but he's working on a different animated film, and so Peter Sohn is going to take over for directing duties. Brad Bird's still writing, so we'll see. Man, this is going to be like a 20-year-old franchise at this point. The original Incredibles came out in 2004. I keep joking that we're going to get Death of Mr. Incredible, which is always a big comic book thing to do, death of your main character. So we'll see.
I tell you, they need to. Like, Craig T. Nelson sounded so old in the second Incredibles movie. And, like, I knew there had been some time, but, like, when you actually go back and... I liked Incredibles 1 a lot. I had the DVD when I was a kid. Got fond memories of waking up at 3 a.m. with the DVD menu blaring on my TV. Like, oh, God, I fell asleep. The first one, like, has aged almost kind of terribly. Like, when you go back and watch it, you're like, oh God, dude, this animation looks way chunkier than I remember. Like, I remember it looking slick and looking good because it's got a bit of an art style to it. It's doing this like 50s, 60s Art Deco thing. The second one looks way better, but like Mr. Incredible sounds so much older, dog. Like, his voice is so gravelly, and I like Craig T. Nelson fine, and he does a great job, but like, he does not sound as old as Bob Parr is. Like, he just sounds way older. So, like, I don't know, man. Might be time to pass the torch. That's what I figure is probably happening in this movie. It's going to be the kid movie, right? Like, Mr. Incredible got the first one. Mrs. Incredible kind of heads it up in part 2. This one's got to be the kids. Got to be Dash and Violet and Jack, right? That's their names. They're going to be turning invisible and running fast and turning into a monster, yeah.
Yeah, Teen Titans basically having, and that makes perfect sense, especially because they were still pretty young because the second film basically takes place right after the first film. There's like no break in time, so now it would be interesting to see these characters grown up, and you have Mr. and Mrs. Incredible are maybe a little bit older, maybe retired from the game, and then you have the kids step into the lead roles.
One more note about this before we get to the box office. Pixar's currently gearing up for the release of Elio on June 20th. That's their upcoming feature. That thing is tracking to not do very good. And it's a bummer because we talked about this in the show last week. This is one of their first original features in a few years, not based on like a sequel or a remake or coming from anything prior. It's entirely its own thing. It seems like these sequels do way better for Disney than everything else. So Incredibles 3 is probably going to hit. They might even do Incredibles 4. We'll see. From the box office, Ballerina is doing okay, but maybe not as good as Lionsgate had hoped. Meanwhile, Lilo and Stitch killing it, right? What are the numbers?
So Lilo and Stitch was first over the weekend with 32,770,000 worldwide. It's probably going to be the year's first $1 billion movie. So it's just keeps on trucking. There's not really a whole lot of competition, maybe from How to Train Your Dragon, but Lilo and Stitch is kind of free until Jurassic Park. So it's probably going to hit that big B number we like. Ballerina came in slow at 25 million. They were hoping between 30 and 35 million. It's 51 million worldwide. It was a $90 million picture, so it's got a ways to go. I read something about the financing was done differently so that it doesn't have to make as much money to be successful, but it's going to definitely need legs to get somewhere.
Yeah, Ballerina's in a weird place. It opened to 25 million, which is second lowest opening in the franchise behind just the first movie, which made 14.5 million when it came out, and then was a sleeper hit and went on to have some more action. The second one I think opened to like 40 million. So not great. I think Lionsgate was hoping for maybe something closer to 40 or 50 million here. Like Andy said, they got some funny financing behind it. I think it cost $90 million to make, and they're hoping it's going to do better overseas. I think it's got some legs that way. Big action, that stuff hits better over there. So we'll see. But for now, Ballerina maybe not doing as well as it could have. We mentioned the title in the open for the world of John Wick, Ballerina. I don't think that's confusing anybody, but I do think it has a funny job, right? Ballerina has to sort of try to carry the franchise without John Wick, but also Keanu Reeves is in the movie, like to give it a bit of a, bit of a blessing. So I don't know. I like watching and I couldn't decide if Armas, like, I don't know if they're giving her space or not, or if maybe they're giving it the lift it needs. Like, would it have done worse without Keanu Reeves in the movie? Probably. Like, if it had been completely unrelated, I don't even know if it would have made 25 million. But also, how is it going to keep going if he's going to be in everything? What do you think, Andy? You've seen more of these movies than I am.
I was thinking it needed to take a page out of the Fast and Furious playbook, where you introduce the characters of Hobbs and Shaw in the mid Fast and Furious films, and then they eventually get their own spin-off. You needed to introduce her character either earlier in the John Wick films, or have this one be John Wick and her kind of like a buddy cop thing, or a team up film, and then she gets her own spin-off. It's a hard sell to do a spin-off with a brand new character, but it might still work. It's yet to be seen.
It's worth mentioning, I want to say all the way at the bottom here, Phoenician Scheme, which we're going to cover here in a second, at $6.3 million opening weekend, 7 million or something like that after its quick opening. Not very good, but I mean, it's a Wes Anderson movie, so they're funded by Indian Paintbrush. They'll keep making those movies forever. That movie is going to get cut off next week bad, because next week is Materialist from Celine Song, rom-com, and Life of Chuck, right? Which is Good Feeling, Mike Flanagan, Tom, not Hardy, not Tom Cruise,
Hiddleston,
not Tom Felton, Tom Hiddleston. Dude, I got all the Toms over here. I got so many Toms. Good Lord. Yeah, Tom Hiddleston movie. That's another feel-good movie. Like, I think that might hurt Phoenician Scheme. Meanwhile, Ballerina's got some room to breathe. Like, there's no other action coming out next week. So it's got some time to kind of like maybe pick up some steam, come out overseas. I think Lionsgate will clear the top of it, right? It'll make its money back. But I don't know if we're getting a Ballerina 2 anytime soon based on opening weekend here.
Right. So some other updates. Mission Impossible: The Final Reckoning came in third with 15 million. It has reached 450 million globally, which sounds like a good number, but it was a $400 million film, so it's probably not going to be in the red. I don't know how they justify the finances of that. It was so expensive. Karate Kid Legends came in fourth with 8.7 million, 75 million worldwide. That's doing okay. I think they expected more. I think they expected that Cobra Kai crowd to come out, and they just didn't really. This probably should have gone straight to Netflix, honestly. And rounding out the top five, Final Destination Bloodlines is doing great with 6.5 million in its fourth or fifth weekend, 257 million globally. The most successful of that franchise. We're definitely getting more of those.
Yeah, dude. We're definitely getting more Final Destination. Keep it here on Off Script for more. And also, if you want to check out our Final Destination Bloodlines review from just a couple weeks ago, hit the YouTube channel, subscribe, follow. We got it around. Anyway, we got to move to the reviews. We've been talking around Ballerina. It's time to talk about Ballerina. Andy's going to be taking the summary on this one. Andy, please take it away.
From the world of John Wick, Ballerina, or simply Ballerina. The title is a huge mouthful. This film stars Ana de Armas and takes place between the third and fourth John Wick films. Ana de Armas stars as Eve, a young girl whose parents are killed when she's young. She is adopted by Ian McShane's Winston, who's a staple of the John Wick series. He takes her in, and she's trained by the Ruska Roma, which is the Russian assassination tribe in the greater world of John Wick. She is trained to be both ballerina and assassin. She graduates assassin school and goes on the hunt for the mysterious tribe, the X tribe that murdered her parents. And it's the kind of thing, no one wants to talk about them. We don't say their names. No one knows who they are, where they are, that sort of thing. So she goes on this mission of revenge. We see her meet some staples of the series and some newcomers like Norman Reedus, and of course the great Keanu Reeves as John Wick himself, on a mission of revenge with lots of action. It's a lot of fun, lots to talk about. Zach, what'd you think?
So I'm not as up to date on the John Wick franchise as you are, which I think will make for good conversation. You have seen all of these movies and are innately familiar with the lore. I saw the last one, John Wick 4, which honestly worked great by itself. Had a great time in the theater. For anybody who's thinking, oh God, it's got to know what he's talking about. No, dude, John Wick 4 was solid. But I was lacking some of the foundational elements that I think maybe this film owes to its previous works. A lot of John Wick lore in the open, as well as, John Wick stuff happening throughout. It's definitely not its own independent action feature, but it doesn't claim to be. The title is from the John Wick, from the world of John Wick Ballerina. Very much knows where it's coming from. And in that way, I love the action in this movie. I love the geography of the scenes. I love the combination of wild weapons and insane duels and flips and stuff. All that stuff works great. The stuff that's a little boring is the stuff between the fights, right? And somehow John Wick 4 manages to do a little better job. I think that comes from director Len Wiseman, right? I know they had Chad Stahelski, former director, out for reshoots and for parts of this. I think the stuff he probably included is awesome. The other stuff is okay. And I think in another iteration or another film, will probably, I don't know, get fixed or wrapped up in a better way. So it's all right, but not as good as I think the prior entry. What do you think?
So this movie started as a spec script, which is just where someone basically has a pitch of an idea. And it was just about a female assassin, and they basically retrofitted it to fit into the world of John Wick. And the plot is a little thin beer. It's a classic. Oh, young girl, her parents are killed. She's on a mission of revenge, and they shove it into the world of John Wick, and it kind of works. I think, from what I understood, this film was kind of a disaster, and Chad Stahelski came in and did a bunch of reshoots. I think added Keanu Reeves into a few sequences and more or less saved the film. The plot stuff is real thin and real kind of boring. And usually that's where these movies kind of do some comic book like scene chewing, the kind of the world of these secret assassins. But this movie makes up for it in the action. There are a ton of action scenes. Anytime you think it's starting to get slow, action starts up again. There's several times I was like, oh, we're going to get like some talking here, some exposition. Nope. It gets interrupted with another fight scene. So there's a ton of action, and the action stuff is really good. And they play into this thing that, Ana de Armas is small. They comment on it. They're like, you're not as strong. You're not going to be as fast. And so she's always armed. Like, she's always using weapons in the fight. She's picking up everything around her to get through her battles. There's a great sequence with like bag of grenades that she has. So the action, I think, kind of makes this movie work. If the action were weak, it would be a total dud.
Yeah, I think Stahelski's like innate ability to direct a stunt fight is so important to what makes these movies. It's right there next to Keanu Reeves being important in the John Wick universe. Like, these fight scenes are so unique and nobody does them like this. And it's because of a few key elements. Geography of a scene. They use every part of the room. If they're fighting in a restaurant, they're going to end up fighting back in the kitchen and swinging utensils at each other. If you're fighting in a bank, they're going to end up like swinging a bank vault door into somebody, like using the whole room, flipping over all the tables, like blowing open all the doors is a big part to making these things feel scalable. And also, wild use of weapons and things that are around and combining those. There's a couple of great scenes in here with like grenades. There's a flamethrower sequence that's real rad and manages to have a lot of energy. And that stuff works independent of Keanu Reeves. Like, he does not have to be in the room for that to happen. Those are the scenes that I think work the best here. And when watching this movie, it starts to feel a little bit like two halves. It feels like the stuff that was there and the stuff Stahelski came in and reshot. And I don't know how much of it he came in and added, but all the John Wick stuff, all the really rad fight sequences, feels like somebody came in and cleaned this up after. Like, this doesn't feel like this was here at the beginning, and it all is important to making it better. And Keanu Reeves is a lightning rod in the middle of this movie because he immediately draws attention and amps it up, and you're like, oh, dude, now things are getting real. Baba Yaga's here. But I hate to say that without that stuff, it's a weaker movie. Like, the stuff that's there on, like, without Stahelski and without Keanu Reeves, like, doesn't work as good. I think Ana de Armas doesn't get as much opportunity for exposition in this movie. Her character is pretty quiet. She's a little mousy, a little quiet. She's got some trauma that ended up getting her into the situation from her childhood. It's explained in the first act. But she doesn't end up doing as much character work in her other films. That comes out in the action where they're doing like these insanely choreographed sequences, which she can do great. Like it's a beating to film that stuff, and she keeps up and does a great job. But yeah, it's just light on exposition and even a little light on action till like the back half, and then it finally kicks into like the heat. I do agree though, there are a couple surprise action sequences. They're almost like jump scares. In a horror movie, it'd be a jump scare, except in this movie, it's just surprise. It's an action sequence now, and they are welcome. Like that stuff is good. Those are the best elements of this movie.
Yeah, exactly. The action is what works best, and it keeps that modern feel that the John Wick movies have, where, like I said last week, I'd watched Demolition Man, and it's a completely different kind of action movie. And in this, we have lots of hand-to-hand combat. Like she did a lot of training, like jujitsu stuff and gun training. I was listening to an interview where she was talking about her hands were really sore from because she had to learn how to take the guns apart, put them back together. It was a whole thing. So you get that real visceral feel that you get from the John Wick movies. Also, she, like John Wick, she gets thrown around a whole lot. Like she's getting like punched and kicked and thrown through windows and stuff. So you get that, okay, like I said, very visceral feel. Things that are just more modern now than the way these movies used to be shot, and I think that keeps it fresh. And also, just the variety of action scenes you get. You get, of course, tons of like shooting and hand-to-hand combat, but like you said, there's a flamethrower sequence, there's a grenade sequence, there's a place where everyone is an assassin. There's a club scene that we have actually kind of reminisced from some of the other John Wick films as well. So there's a lot of action, and it's varied enough that it doesn't get old.
Yeah. Also, odd observation from me. This fits in the plot loosely because of the shape of the movie. Ana de Armas is kind of an up and coming assassin in this world. Like she's training at the beginning of the movie, and then she ends up taking on real jobs. And as we get into it deeper, like the stakes become higher and much deadlier. Like, and I totally see that. But for the first like half of the movie, I legitimately thought it was a PG-13 feature. There's like very little blood, and they're using rubber bullets, and they're only fighting with fists. And there's a sequence in that club when Ana de Armas gets beat to hell, and she's barely bleeding, barely has a mark on. I'm just like, what's happening here? Like, is this PG-13? And then the last half of it, way the other side. I was like, oh no, this is firmly R. Like we have multiple people lit on fire and screaming for their life. There's a scene where a guy is begging somebody not to light them on fire, and he gets torched. Like whole blood, glass, explosions, like arms getting blown off, like totally comes back on the other half. And again, I'm like, it feels like reshoot stuff. Like that feels like somebody in the test screening was like, this is not nearly gory enough, turn this up. And maybe they had started it softer. Maybe there was an intention that we shoot this movie, and maybe it'll be PG-13, and we can grab that crowd, right? You bigger box office returns at PG-13. But then in the second half, it's like, no, it's firmly there. So I say that all to say, if you're looking for some visceral action, it's in Ballerina. It's just more in the back half. The first half will be like a paintball sequence and like, fist fights. And then it gets to where it's going for sure.
I noticed that as well. It definitely gets more kind of adult in the second half, and that's probably a lot to do with the reshoots. And yeah, that first half just kind of feels so generic. Like she's got to go. She has a training montage at the beginning. She's got to, get one final test before you become a full-fledged assassin.
Yeah.
Then she graduates assassin school. 6 months later, that sort of thing. You can definitely tell a difference, but it benefits from it by the end.
Yeah, and it's a lot of complaining from me about plot and exposition in a movie that fundamentally is focused on action. And I think the action is where the best parts of the movie lie. It's kinetic, it moves, it's funny in times. There's a couple of really odd throwaway gags that harken back to like old stunt performing. There's a sequence with a TV remote where she's punching somebody and the channel's changing, and then another sequence where there's like a ton of plates in this diner, and these two people are just hammering the hell out of each other. Broken plate, broken plate, broken plate. Funny, solid, kinetic. Again, that feels like the best part, like the lightning rod stuff in this movie. It's like, I wish it could have been that the whole runtime. A little slow to get going, but solid. I guess the larger question before we wrap it up, A, do you have anything else you want to point out? And B, like, does the John Wick universe work without John Wick in the middle of it? Or does Keanu Reeves have to be in every one of these features?
I think it can. because people love the action, and the action just has to be convincing. And there's so much style in these movies, and there's more style in the other movies than in this one. Not that it's not trying for that, but the whole world is kind of fascinating. There's like, this code that all these assassins somehow live by. There's secret rooms and secret societies. So I think it can definitely work, but you needed to have a better handoff. Like I said, the Hobbs and Shaw thing, you introduce those characters in the Fast and Furious movies, and then they eventually got their own spinoff. They
Yeah.
needed to do something like this. May have worked better with like Halle Berry's character having a spinoff because she was in their third film. Something like that might have worked a little bit better. So we'll see how it goes going forward. It might have been good to have like, this could have been like a team up movie, her and John Wick the entire time. He's only in it for small amounts. So, and that might have been a better way to spin it off. So we'll see. I think they definitely want to make more. We'll have to see what the legs are like.
Yeah, that's where I'm at. I think you can make a John Wick movie, or in the world of John Wick, without Keanu Reeves. I don't know if you can do it without Chad Stahelski, or at least somebody who is like directly imitating his style and approach. Because this was a different star and a different director, right? Ana de Armas and Len Wiseman. I think losing those two key figures is what makes it a challenge. Because if you'd kept one of them, either way, from the start, I think you would have been better off. But what's here is solid. They save it. It pulls out at the end. I think it's a solid Wick feature. I got to know, Andy, would you recommend From the World of John Wick, Ballerina?
Overall, I would definitely, for fans of action films and fans of the John Wick series. The action is excellent, and that's what you're largely coming for. Ana de Armas is great in the role. She clearly did lots of physical training and gun training. We get to see some new favorites, some old favorites. It's a lot of fun. The plot story is real thin. It kind of doesn't matter. You're not there for that. I would like to see more. So I would say suggested for fans of the franchise.
Yeah, I'm in the same boat. Fans of the franchise, or action fans, or if you're an Ana de Armas fan, I think you'll have a fine time watching her do some really great action work in this movie. Outside of that, like if you don't know what you're getting into, if you're just coming in blind, I think From the World of John Wick sounds a little intimidating on the poster. And it should, because it's a little lore heavy in a way that might feel you're leaving left out in the cold. And outside of that, it's a little bit of a paint by numbers shadow organization, hires young up and comer who becomes great assassin sort of movie. Like it's got so much John Wick DNA that I think it lacks having an identity outside of that. Works great for a Wick movie. Solid. I enjoyed it. I haven't seen many of the other ones, but from what I hear, it's better than 3. So it's that. Somebody might know what that means. But yeah, that's From the World of John Wick, Ballerina. We got to talk about some trailers, Andy. What do we call this segment?
It's time for the trailer park. We have 4 trailers coming in today. One of them actually just dropped today, but we're going to start with Wicked for Good, the sequel or the second half to Wicked, which was a huge hit from last year. In this new trailer, we see Elphaba and Glinda, and we see Elphaba's like a full-fledged witch. She's getting her powers. We see the wizard and the people of Oz wanting to kind of take her down. We see Fiyero, who's now kind of turned into a bad guy. He's working for Oz. He's like a police kind of person. We see the the Wizard of Oz folk that we know. We see Dorothy, the Tin Man, Cowardly Lion, and Strawman Scarecrow as well, which is part of how this all ties together. I have actually read about 3/4 of Wicked, and then I got a little bit bored, and I've been meaning to go back to it. But I really don't know what happens in the second half. But I tell you, when I sent this trailer to the Wicked heads in my life, they lost their mind. They were like, oh my god, I cried. I watched it 5 times.
Oh my gosh.
Super excited for the people that know what's coming. I think it looks pretty good. It's probably going to be a big hit.
Yeah, I don't know what's coming. I haven't seen the musical, but I do want to say it's a testament to the power of theater that you can have 2 such distinctly different halves in one musical. Like I can't imagine going to intermission and being like, oh my god, I get to see the next 2 hours of whatever just happened from part 1, because part 1 manages to feel so wholly its own thing. It's got a first, second, and third act, seems to wrap up at the end. Like they did a great job of adapting it for the screen. I don't know what's coming in this one. But I do think the trailer doesn't hit quite as good. There's something about it. Maybe it's Elphaba doing like the Batman thing at the beginning when Glinda's like on a balcony, like, oh, where is she? Aha!
Yeah.
right behind you. Yeah, like, I don't know. Yeah, Fierro becoming a cop, not a fan of that, right? Like,
Linda.
I'm sure it'll all. That's right. I'm sure it'll all work out. I'm sure it'll all work out for what this is, but I will go see it for what it's. I sound like I don't like it. I think this trailer is fine. I think the first one looked hotter. I enjoyed the first one. I'm looking forward to seeing this one. But, for fans, looks great. If you're not a fan, might feel a little left out in the cold. Like what's going on in here? Like, I don't know. We'll see. The person made a ton of money. It'll be fine. We got to talk about the trailer for Alien Earth. I know this is a television series, but it looks quite cinematic. And it's coming from Noah Hawley, so that's exciting. This is the FX Hulu follow-up to the Alien films, right? This is the first TV series of Alien that we know. And I don't know exactly what's going on here, but I do have a summary from IMDb that I ripped. Quote, when the mysterious deep space research vessel USCSS Maginot, I don't know how to say that, crash lands on Earth, Wendy, played by Sidney Chandler, and a ragtag group of tactical soldiers make a fateful discovery and puts them face to face with the planet's greatest threat. I'm going to assume a xenomorph alien, right? It actually looks kind of solid. I'd been hearing about this and thought, dude, this is going to be lame. Alien on TV is not going to be cool. But it looks real bold and real sharp, and it's got a lot of style to it that I think might actually play good, at least plays good in the trailer. A lot of action, a lot of dark tones, certainly lots of Weyland-Yutani space alien ship pipes and stuff coming out of walls and LED screens and old buttons you can press. I got all that stuff. So for all I know, it'll be a solid Alien thing. What do you think, Andy?
Man, I think this looks great. The trailer is really creepy. It's got that alien feel and vibe. This takes place between Alien Covenant and the original Alien film. So it's not a prequel. It just takes place beforehand, but they're not really connected. Man, looks creepy. Looks real scary. And FX has done some really good TV. They, of course, did Shogun, which I was a huge fan of. This comes out August 12th. I'm excited to see this.
Yeah, me too. We got to talk about the trailer for Freakier Friday. I'm taking the summary on this one, so hold on to your hats. The follow-up to the 2003 classic from Disney. Freakier Friday follows Lindsay Lohan and Jamie Lee Curtis, mom and daughter, who are astoundingly body-swapped with their daughters, Lindsay Lohan's case, and granddaughter, right? Yeah, that's the deal. It's a 4-way body swap in Freakier Friday. They got Jamie Lee Curtis and Lindsay Lohan back for this. It's a comedy, family joint. It's in theaters August 8th. What do you think, Andy?
This looks really adorable, and it's good that they got some teenage people, because that's really the fun part. It's not really fun to see adult Lindsay Lohan and grandma Jamie Lee Curtis swap, because they're both adults. But what is the funny part is the teens and the adults swapping. That's the real gag. And we see a lot of great scenes where Jamie Lee Curtis is acting like a shy teenager. Same thing with Lindsay Lohan. They don't know how to put on makeup. They don't know how to flirt with boys. It looks really fun and really cute. And it's a fun way to reinvent this property. I was joking before the show that in 20 years, we're going to get Freakiest Friday, where in another 20 years, they're just going to do these every 20 years forever. I think this looks good. This comes out at the beginning of August 8th.
Yeah, looks fine. I like all of these, what seem like obvious cash grab remake sequels, especially from Disney. I'm glad the stars at the center of it are getting the bag, dude. Why not? Why shouldn't Lindsay Lohan and Jamie Lee Curtis collect another check off this IP? Sure, I'd do it. I felt the same way about the last Jurassic World movie, as all those old people back in. Laura Dern, I was like, awesome, way to go, Laura Dern. Freakier Friday looks like a ball. One more to talk about, Andy. What do you got?
So we got the full trailer for Eddington, the new Ari Aster COVID film, for lack of a better term, that's coming out July 18th. We just got to see a lot more of this. It was a long trailer, and this movie just looks crazy. It's taking on kind of the personas of everything that was happening during the pandemic in 2020. It is set in May 2020. Joaquin Phoenix plays the local sheriff of the town of Eddington. Pedro Pascal is the mayor. They are at odds. You see things like BLM marches. You see masks. You see counter protests. You see a bunch of social media stuff. Oh, I can't think of her name.
Emma
Who's
Stone.
the red? Thank you. Emma Stone's in
I
it.
gotcha.
It's got a great cast. This movie looks wild. Like I can't really tell what's going on, but there's like gunfire, cars on fire, fist fights. Like what is going on? And from what I understand, it's kind of a skewering of America, both the left and right wing political spectrums. It will be very divisive. I've heard it's very divisive from the people who have actually seen it. So we'll see what that's all about. It's nearly 3 hours, which Ari Aster's getting really long. I'm excited for it. Zach, what do you think?
Yeah, I think it's great. It looks like the perfect kind of movie to take your freak cinephile boyfriend, girlfriend to. Like, if you're like, well, they like going to see movies all the time. I don't know what they'd be into. They'd probably be into Eddington. This is the kind of movie that, like, you might hear about come Oscar season and be like, what was that movie? I've never heard of that. Yeah, Eddington is the name of the movie. Yeah, 3 hour weird. IndieWire said it's the first truly modern Western. I'm excited that Joaquin Phoenix is back after Beau is Afraid. He's teaming up with Ari Aster again. Emma Stone continuing to do weird transcendental stuff. Pedro Pascal is just in everything. I don't know. I don't think he goes home. I think he just drifts between sets and just continues to appear in films and television. So good for him. Austin Butler's showing up. Eddington seems like it's going to be a banger. Anyway, I'm stalling. We got to get to our last movie of the episode. I got to talk about this because this is Wes Anderson. This is Wes Anderson's new feature, and it is a strange one for sure. I'm going to be taking the summary, so please excuse my clumsy delivery. The movie is The Phoenician Scheme. So, wealthy businessman Zsa-zsa Korda, played by Benicio Del Toro, is constantly, nearly, almost definitely, practically assassinated, but he always seems to just get away. Zsa-zsa Korda has made his money overseas in Europe building incredible, unique buildings and monuments and infrastructure works, dams and hydroelectrics, what have yous, all over Europe. And that is how he has become such a great owner of such a great estate and wealth and envy of the world. And after being nearly assassinated once again, Zsa-zsa Korda decides that he is going to appoint a sole heir to his estate, his only daughter, a nun, played by Mia Threapleton. I don't actually know how to say her name. Threapleton. We're going to go with it. Threapleton. And as the two of them embark on this new enterprise to build a great Korda Works project, the biggest thing of his career, they soon become a target of a bunch of different assassins and tycoons and ne'er-do-wells, and they have to travel the world to go to these multiple sites to try to net just a little bit more money out of their benevolent donors and often relatives of Zsa-zsa Korda to hopefully dust this whole project off and escape with their lives and create this last great thing before Zsa-zsa Korda is brutally assassinated. The movie stars Benicio Del Toro, Mia Threapleton, Michael Cera in our main cast, and a cavalcade of delightful Wes Anderson characters on the back end. The movie is The Phoenician Scheme. Andy, what'd you think?
So I'm not a big Wes Anderson fan, and I have not liked his previous two films, Asteroid City and The French Dispatch. But I was proud and happy to say that I actually really enjoyed this and had a lot of fun. I was with it from the beginning. I was joking that it starts out like The Dark Knight Rises because it starts out with a plane crash, the first of many that Zsa-zsa Korda will have. And what really works about this is it's really about the repairing of a father-daughter relationship. When we first meet Mia Threapleton, her character Liesel, she's gonna join a convent and become a nun, and Korda wants her to take over his empire, be his beneficiary, because he assumes he will probably be successfully assassinated within the coming months. And so they're both kind of suspicious of each other, and they're both like, we're going to do this on a trial period, see how this works out. And then they set off on this adventure to visit these different people to renegotiate these deals. They find out more about each other and kind of rebuild their relationship. There's several subplots going on. Usually there's an A and a B plot in a movie, and this has like A, B, C, D, E possible. Lots going on. There's a subplot about Zsa-zsa Korda keeps kind of envisioning his death and being before the gates of heaven. There is the question of what happened to Liesel's mother. Everyone says that she was killed specifically by Korda himself. There's a mystery there. There's, of course, paying for the gap. There's getting this thing paid for, renegotiating his deal. So there's a lot going on, but it was just, I was engaged the entire time. We get a huge cast of favorites and newcomers coming in, but they don't overstay their welcome. It's not too long. I remember that in Asteroid City just being really kind of bored, and that didn't happen at all. I was with it the entire time.
Yeah, I think this is one of Anderson's better works as of late, or at least more accessible. It seems like Anderson movies typically go one of two ways. Either A, it's a plot from beginning to end, A to B to C, but with characters all the way through, kind of like a traditional film. Or B, it breaks out into multiple kind of short films or multiple kind of experimental ideas that weave over each other. French Dispatch is a great example. That is a story about a newspaper that it specifically has 3.5 specific small articles that are covered in the film that act as like 3.5 short films in the movie. So it's kind of like a large movie with 3 movies inside of it. Asteroid City uniquely has kind of the same sound because it's a play based on a rehearsal, based on a historical thing. Like that's like layers within layers, and even that one gets odd at the end. But this one ditches all that. It's more like Grand Budapest. It's more like Royal Tenenbaums. It's more like Darjeeling Limited. It is straight through all the way. We get our characters at the beginning. We're with them all the way to the end. They grow and change as we grow and change. A little bit more accessible on the Anderson side, and I think that's probably its biggest strength. It has all of the classic elements of Wes Anderson, right? Single point perspective, odd matte pastel colors, the fun cavalcade of characters, unique humor, both in sight and sound, and occasional visual gags, which are a great time. I really liked what this movie has to say about masculinity. I'll talk about it more a little bit in a second, but Zsa-zsa Korda has 9 sons, and none of them are going to be his heir. This nun is this daughter who he's kind of already disavowed. And he is a terrible parent to them. He's a terrible father. He's hardly around. And when he is, he's basically bossing them. And they're all mean and cruel to one another. And they don't really listen to him. And then he travels the world trying to convince other men to give him money and try to do these business deals and try to like finagle some. And one guy, he's kind of tough. Another one, he calls in a favor. Another one, he's like desperately, meekly just hoping to help him out. And he really doesn't have a lot of ground to stand on, but somehow like Zsa-zsa Korda manages to be an interesting figure throughout as he deals with other men in business and occasionally women. He's got a whole thing with Scarlett Johansson. We should probably talk about the characters and who's in it. It's quite the cast. I got a list pulled up, Andy. If you don't mind, I can rattle them off, or if you know them.
Good. Well, I think our main 3 is good to start with. Benicio Del Toro is the main. He's in almost every scene of this movie. Really carries it. Has a ton of lines. Mia Threapleton, who is the daughter of Kate Winslet, plays his daughter Liesel in what is, I think, a breakout role. She's brilliant. She's so funny, and it's not. She doesn't get a bunch of like scene chewing things, but it's just she has to do a lot of facial acting, a lot of that Wes Anderson deadpan, and she's in most of the scenes as well. And she's just so good. She has such a unique look. She wears this completely white outfit, but she has green eyeshadow and green tights. And she's planning to just take her vows and leave this life behind. And of course, the great Michael Cera, who you would think that he would have worked with Wes Anderson long before this, but he is pitch perfect for this. He plays this odd Swedish fellow he's there to be a tutor and help with entomology, the study of bugs, and is just perfect for this role.
Yeah, Sarah is odd and strange at first, and he just gets just a little bit of a tweak about halfway through this movie that is so great and totally gives him so much more range and ability to do unique things. A big cast of supporting characters as well. I got a few of them here. Riz Ahmed, Tom Hanks, Bryan Cranston, Richard Ayoade, Jeffrey Wright, Scarlett Johansson, Benedict Cumberbatch, Rupert Friend, Bill Murray, Willem Dafoe, F. Murray Abraham. Crazy. God, I wanted to mention Stephen Park in there as Korda's pilot in one of the opening scenes is really funny. I love so much the Wes Anderson style, and it's not for everybody, but it's just such a menagerie of film tricks. It reminds me of like a great card handler in Vegas, just doing like card trick after card trick on a table on the street. Miniatures, crash zooms, big sets, small sets, like insane angles, funny gags, sight gags, scripting, like just tons of little elements that just weave themselves together into this like tapestry of interesting features. God, what is that great French Dispatch had that line. I forget who said it. One of the critics said it's like a brakeless freewheel through a teeming bazaar. Like it's just you're on this wild adventure and you never know quite where it's going to end. But fortunately, Phoenician Scheme has a good framing device in the middle of it. These individual stops along the way where we have to go and meet these individuals about this specific part of this contract, and we have to specifically understand like why person A connects to person B, which is how we get to the money at the end, and ultimately meeting kind of our big bad or antagonist of the feature, who may very well just be Zsa-zsa Korda. Like, he's a unique character in and of himself. And I love Benicio Del Toro in this. Like, it's so great to see him at the front of a feature again. I feel like he often is sidelined as a like side cast or, you know, kind of that funny character in that one Star Wars movie that you kind of remember, but he's really great. And it's really cool to see him like hold up his own kind of movie again.
So I was listening to an interview with Wes Anderson, and he was talking about when him and Roman Coppola were developing this story. Initially, this was just going to be about a really shrewd, mean businessman, kind of modeled after the businessmen of the 50s, but also modeled after, you know, people of today. If you can think of any billionaires with 9 children that come to mind, but that over the course of kind of working out the script, it turned more into this story of redemption and the fixing of this relationship. I wanted to talk about the violence in this. This is a lot more violence in it than most Wes Anderson films, but in a fun, cartoonish way. It's like Looney Tunes style violence, and it's all played for laughs. I mean, there's people getting blown up, shot, stabbed, threats of all those, and it's always just played for a laugh, which is, it's just really different from his style. Usually there's not really a lot of violence in his film. So I thought there was something that stood out as unique, but that totally works.
Yeah, I thought the same thing. The film opens with a suspense scene and some stunning violence right at the top. I was like, oh God. Yeah, like it really does feel like, oh, we're breaking out and doing something different. But then you get into it and you're like, oh no, this is definitely Wes Anderson through and through. It's just starting on a different note. But I think it's really sharp. I'm running out of good things to say about it. Great soundtrack. Alexander Desplat, right? Like great again, like uses every part of the orchestra. Like it's like using every part of the Buffalo, dude. Like I swear. I think I heard every instrument in the soundtrack. Yeah.
So the soundtrack, it's interesting because I looked it up. It's only 15 minutes long on the the soundtrack on Spotify, because it uses a lot of actually ballet music. It's using a lot of Stravinsky, Petrushka, Firebird Suite, The Rite of Spring, all the Stravinsky classics. For some reason, that's used a ton in this, and that's why the soundtrack is actually very short. Because it's using all this ballet music. Also, be sure to stick through most of the credits at the end of the film, because there's a lot of big works of art in the film, and they actually got these real paintings from all over the world to be in the film. And they were talking about they had like high level security, like bring in the art, stand near while it was being, you know, and it's just kind of a testament to the process where they easily could have gotten copies or just CGI'd it in. And no, they chose to get like the real thing for a lot of these scenes.
Yeah, and it's particularly cool that they credit all of those individually on screen, like where they got it from, who painted it. It's so, I don't know, I just feel like Wes Anderson features are this testament to like art for art's sake, right? Like they're funded by Indian Paintbrush, which is basically just one guy who loves Wes Anderson and has a ton of money and will just continue funding his projects in eternum. Anderson is not beheld by any studio or specific rules. He can just make whatever he wants. And like, it's almost always a banger. It reminds me of like I don't know, in a weird way, like something like a Nathan Fielder joint, right? Like somebody who's just making art that's completely in their own lane. He's not like copying anybody. He's not going out of his way to do anything that anybody tells him. And that's special and that's unique. And this is one of those ones that I think is more accessible than some of the more recent ones. So with that, Andy, any other thoughts for recommendations?
I'm ready.
Andy, would you recommend The Phoenician Scheme?
Yeah, I absolutely would. Like I said, I'm not a big Wes Anderson fan, but I really enjoyed this. I was with it and engaged the entire time. Really good performances from our 3 leads, Benicio Del Toro, Mia Threapleton, Michael Cera, along with a huge cast of surprises and people that we didn't name. It's a lot of fun, and it's only 100 minutes, so highly recommend.
Yeah, same. I think this movie's great. I think this is one of the better ones of his lately. Rock solid. I don't think it's his best. If I had to recommend one to somebody who'd never seen one, I'd probably still go with something like Grand Budapest. But if you like that, if you like Anderson, rock solid feature. And if you don't, maybe try it out. You might be surprised. You might just end up liking it. Remember, it's a comedy. You're not supposed to just sit quietly at the whole thing. You're supposed to laugh through it. So keep that in mind. And yeah, that's Off Script episode 296. Good Lord, Andy. The march ever forward to 300 is nigh upon us. Good Lord, we're nearly there. What are we watching next week?
So we're doing another double theatrical week. Celine Song's Materialists comes out this week. This is the rom-com romantic movie starring Pedro Pascal, Chris Evans, and of course Madam Web herself, Dakota Johnson. We've heard a lot of good things. Excited for that. And also Life of Chuck, which is the Stephen King, based on the Stephen King short story starring Tom Hiddleston, about a man named Chuck in 3 different distinct points of his life. Not real sure what it's totally about, other than it's supposed to be uplifting and life affirming. So those are the 2 big ones. Just an FYI release, How to Train Your Dragon, the live action version comes out this week if you need something to take and see the kids. But we'll be doing Materialists and Life of Chuck next week.
That's right. We're skipping How to Train Your Dragon, which is weird because I like that first movie just fine. I think I saw the second and third one in theaters as well. But there's this funny thing when I go see remakes now that, like, I really remember identifying when I saw Little Mermaid in theaters because we covered that on the show. When I realized just a little ways into the remake movie, oh, this one is like the same. It follows the same beats. I know where the plot's going. I already feel like I can see the trajectory of everything that's going to happen. And I realize I have to sit for 90 minutes and watch a movie that I already have seen before. And I can't do that anymore because it makes me want to get up and leave. And I was that way a little bit with Little Mermaid. It was a little different, but mostly the same. And from what we can tell, How to Train Your Dragon looks like it is going to be just like the original. And it's like, I've seen that movie already. I'd rather go see something new. So I don't know. I don't know if anybody else gets this feeling of anxiety when you're watching remakes like I do, but if you do, the best way to take care of it is to subscribe to Off Script Film Review. So you can keep watching reviews like this one, and we can keep you informed on, what's coming out. We keep talking about movies. That's what we do. We see movies, we talk about them. Best way to do that is to subscribe on, YouTube, right? Where we're uploading new stuff every single week. You can subscribe on audio feeds like iTunes, Spotify, Google Play, iHeartMedia. If you like listening on the go, if you like listening to us when you're running or walking or what have you, if you can't watch, good news, you can listen to us whenever. We're on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok. All these are social media places. Come follow us over there. Leave a rating and review if you can swing it. Check out our website, offscriptfilmreview.com, and leave us some correspondence direct from you to us at mail@offscriptfilmreview.com. From all of us at Offscript, the home of Bold Cinema, I'm Zach Lewis.
And I'm Dr. Draper.
Thanks for watching.